So, how did you start? Did you multiply by 5? Because that would have been kind of okay, but not great. 5x. You multiply by 5x, we're going to clear that denominator. Because if I had just multiplied by 5, I'd have fixed that one. If I had just multiplied by x, I'd have fixed that one. But by multiplying by 5x on everything, including that, by the way, it's kind of irrelevant almost, but 0 times 5x is still 0. But you multiply it by everything because that's just the rules. You have to do it to every term. Then the 5 will cancel that, and we have x times x, which makes what? X squared. And then this x cancels this x, and then I have 5 times 3 is 15. And then this 5x and the 5 would make 25x. And then it's equals 0. It bothers me that that's not lined up, so I'm going to line it up. All right. Now, I'm going to just rearrange this a little bit. X squared plus 25x plus 15 equals 0. And what if that thing would factor? Wouldn't that be the easiest way to solve it? But it probably doesn't. And so if it doesn't factor, then what are you going to do? Quadratic formula. All right. That's all there is to it. That's what you learned yesterday. Raise your hand if you understand that process. Good. All right. So then, what are we going to do next? Well, first of all, I want to give you a little bit harder one to try. This one's got complicated stuff going on in its denominator. Let's see who can figure that one out. It's not rocket science. It's not like, oh my gosh, I have to be a genius to get this one. Give it a shot. I'm trying to clear out that denominator. I'll pause for a second while you work on that. Here's what I hope that you would have been thinking. I hope you'd have been thinking that, well, if I multiply by x plus 1, that would fix the one thing. If I multiply by x plus 2, it'd fix the other thing. And so I multiply by both of them. And then if you actually multiply that out quick in your head, do you realize that that's actually equal to all of this? And so therefore, when I multiply by that in each spot, and if this actually multiplies out to this, then it's all just going to cancel over there. So, if you're not getting what I'm saying there, how about this? If you factor this, do you understand that I'd have x and plus 1 and plus 2? Make sense? All right. So final answer, if I multiplied all of this out right here, I would have x squared plus 3x plus 2 for this part. And then I got to multiply everything by x. Ooh. So that means x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x. Oh, you got it. Thank you. Thanks for catching me. You're right. That would be a lot easier. Sorry about that. Okay, good. So then it's just x times the x plus 2, which is x squared plus 2x. And then the next step, this cancels this, and now it's just 3 times that, which makes 3x plus 3 equals all that other stuff canceled. This stuff canceled. So 2. Nope. That's good. You had one of those moments. All right. Now it's x squared plus 5x plus 3. Why can I not solve my quadratic right now? Because you have to make it equal to 0. So then that 2, I subtract 2 from both sides. 3 minus the 2 makes 1. So now I can solve it. And now if it would factor, that would be awesome. But can you tell it's not going to factor, right? And therefore, you're going to be thinking, okay, x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4, and it's too much to do at once, all over 2a. And then the a right here is 1, and the c is 1. So what do you do when you're left with an answer like this? You leave it as reduced as you can, plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 4 to be 21, all over 2. Do I expect you to know what the square root of 21 is? No. You can leave it like that. I'll pause for just a second while I get a door here. All right, so what's the moral of the story? To clear a denominator, you multiply by both denominators is one way to say it. I'm going to give it to you in numbers again. On this problem, what would you be multiplying by? 2 times 7, which would be the same as 14, right? And wait, don't do this one. Just think about it. What are you multiplying by? That number 14, what is that? It would be the common denominator. So that's what you're really doing, is multiplying by the common denominator. Because you could do this by making this all into 14ths. Okay, and 1/2 would turn into 7/14 x plus 3/7 if I turn it into 14ths, so it'd be 6/14. And then the 2 would be how many 14ths? 28/14. And the point is that 14 is really the common denominator you could have used. But it's smarter to just not have the denominator at all. I mean, you guys wouldn't want to do it this way, would you? Yeah. So it'd be a lot easier to just multiply by 7 times 2. So you're multiplying by the common denominator, which is also known, there's another name for it. It is the least common multiple of the numbers of the denominators. Very good. Okay. It's not the greatest common factor. That would be something different, but it's the least common multiple. All right. So even when they're nasty, like they are on some of today's, that's all they do is step up the difficulty level of the same problems you had yesterday. So same types of problems, just harder. So the algebra is harder. So if you had this, for instance, x minus 3 over x. Write this one down. X minus 3 over x minus 3 over x plus 1 plus 3 over x squared plus x is equal to 0. And some people are going to do this the hard way, and some people are going to do this the easy way. And I would personally choose the easy way, especially if the police are involved. Always choose, I'll take the easy way, officer. So this right there, do you get that that's, what is that really? It's really those two multiplied together, right? It's really x times x plus 1. You get that? So you could have multiplied by all three things. That'd definitely be the hard way. Don't do it that way. Instead, just multiply by these two things, and it'll fix this third one automatically. Okay, so you don't have to take all of the denominators and put them together. But you'll find that a couple of the denominators together make up the third denominator. So really, all I got to do is multiply by x and x plus 1 on each of them. So I'd multiply, everybody try this one. This is one of your homework problems. So by getting it done, you're getting your homework done. X plus 1 and x and x plus 1, x and x plus 1. And I'm going to save myself time, and 0 times x and x plus 1 is going to still be 0. But I don't want you to think I'm not multiplying on the end there. I am. I just know when I times by 0, it's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. All right. This cancels. And then here's a common situation that kids screw up. They'll go, okay, so x has to be times by this and this. Why is that wrong? Because the quantity x minus 3 has to be times by the quantity x plus 1. So you're going to have to first outside, inside, last on that. You can't just pick one of the two. Why is that? Because any fraction that you have that's like this really has secret parentheses on it. There are parentheses around this part right here. Because if you didn't have those parentheses, it doesn't matter to you. You're going to have the worksheet in just a second. And it's number 2, I guess I can tell you. if you don't have the parentheses on a problem like this, when you put it in the calculator, do you get why the calculator doesn't like it? If you say this, why would you get the wrong answer? Yeah, the calculator would do 3 divided by 5 instead of what it's really supposed to do, which is 1 plus 3 has to be first, right? So this is just a reminder that things like this really have a parenthesis around them. And so, same idea, this part right here really, even though it's not in the worksheet, you really ought to put a parenthesis around any two items like that in a fraction. So if I had a fraction like this, don't forget this part. When you are multiplying by x plus 7, you're really multiplying by x plus 7 in parentheses. So I'd slap in some parentheses. It isn't that hard. Question? This is I'm just saying on any fraction that has two parts. You know, I think the numerator or denominator, if they have two parts. And there's not much point in putting a parenthesis around that, right? Parenthesis around a single number doesn't really do much. But anytime there's two parts, so there's a lot of these on your worksheet today. It'll be like this, and then it'll be like, 3 over x plus 2. I'd really go doot, because if you forget the parentheses, that's where kids make the mistakes. It's all about this part of the problem where when I'm multiplying by x plus 7 and x plus 2, and then this x plus 7 cancels right here, they screw this little multiplication up very, very often. I'm hoping by telling you the common mistakes like that it keeps you from making those mistakes. Just to remind you that having the parentheses in there is really, really smart. Okay, so got a fair amount of time to work today. Because we've got so much time, we've got time to grade homework. So take your homework out that was due today. And you're going to be handing it